Hey, what's up guys? Today I want to share with you how I polish a car after it's been painted. Now, I'm not usually the one that polishes the car because we do have a detailer for that. But this is a special occasion. This is actually my cousin's car that he brought to me because he didn't trust anybody else to paint it and polish it and do a very nice professional job. This is a Porsche Macan and the hood is very, very big, very wide, and I painted the hood. It's a new hood. I painted a new bumper for it, and he also needed me to fix and paint this rear door. This rear door I painted as well. So I'm gonna go over some stuff and sand it down and polish this. So I hope you guys want to see how I polish, which is ironic because just to share this with you guys, this is kind of how I started in the body shop industry. I actually started as a detailer and moved my way up to a painter eventually. It's a process, but it took me a couple years and I still know how to do it because that's actually what I started doing with it. Now this is the 1000 grit I'm gonna be using to DA the hood. Now if you're asking yourself why you can do it wet sanded and just that way and just take one step out and just go straight to wet sanding, is because over years I've proven to myself that with the DA paper, while I'm doing it dry, I can spot a lot more little dirt spots in it than opposed to the whole hood being wet and not being able to see it because everything is wet. So the reason I like to do it with the dry paper is because when I DA it, I can see all the little dirt spots anywhere they are with this. If the whole hood is wet when you're wet sanding, it's harder to see. You might miss a couple of spots and then you see them later on after you start polishing stuff, which is a pain in the neck. So I like to do it like this. DA, dry sandpaper. Now real quick, I want to show you guys what I mean when I say that you can see more stuff when you dry a sand like this with the DA. You see that? I can see that clearly and I can keep sanding it until I remove it. Same thing goes here and here. I can spot a lot more little dirt spots or little speckles of dirt in the clear doing it this way. If this was all wet, I wouldn't be able to see it. I would just be sanding everything and making sure I try to block it out as best as possible. But sometimes on those occasions, some of those dirt spots might be a little higher than you can tell, and when you polish it, you'll still see them. This way, I know if they're still there and I just sand it until it's gone. Okay, so now for my next step, I'm gonna be using some 1500 wet dry paper, a bucket of water, a soft sanding block, and I'm gonna sand everything down nice and evenly and take off some of the 1000 grit sand scratches, because in case you didn't know, when you sand, you wanna make sure you step up to a finer sandpaper to polish it. That way you don't have to turn the polisher's RPM too high, causing swirl marks. This way, I'm stepping it up from 1000 to 1500, and then I'm gonna go one more step to 3000 after I do the 1500. So let's start wet sanding. Okay, I wanna share a tip with you guys about wet sanding. When wet sanding, make sure you go back and forth, straight lines. Don't go back and forth, side to side, crisscross. You can't do that when you're gonna wet sand to polish. You can use that technique to sand for paint because you're gonna feather it later. But when you're wet sanding, you wanna make sure to go straight in one direction, back and forth, up and down. Don't go crisscross when wet sanding. So get yourself a rag, wet your paper, wet your surface, and start sanding. Okay, so I'm gonna continue to wet sand this whole hood. Same way I'm doing this right here. I'm gonna wet sand this whole hood. So I'm gonna do everything exactly the same on the whole hood. And then we're gonna come back when I'm gonna hit it with the 3000 grit paper. Also, you know, don't use one sandpaper to sand the whole thing because sandpaper wears out. So change up your sandpaper per each section. Like I just did this section of the hood. I got a new sandpaper to do the middle of the hood. And then I'm probably gonna get one more sandpaper to finish the rest of it because it's a really big hood. It's gonna take me a while to get this done, so I gotta hurry up. I'm picking this up today. Okay, right now our sand scratches are at 1500. This is a good enough place to go ahead and polish the car if you want to. I just like to take it a step further because the finer you leave the sand scratches, the easier it will be to polish the surface. So what I do is, my next step is going all the way to 3000. Now this 3000 is kind of spongy and you can actually wet the surface when using this 3000. It's actually meant to be wet because it's spongy. It has like a little bit of a thickness. It's like a 1/4 inch thick and it's got like this spongy consistency. So what I do is I take a rag, I wipe my surface and then I DA it. This is going to give me the ability to polish this nice and easily. The sand scratches will be removed faster and I won't have to use my polisher at a very high resolution causing me swirl marks, because if any of you guys know and you've seen this before, I'm pretty sure swirl marks look horrible on cars, especially black, and that's where you see it the most. So you have to really do a nice job with black and make sure you do as much as you can to minimize the possibility of getting swirl marks. So that's why I take it to 3000. And on my DA, now I have a little sponge on my DA that gives me the ability to get around nice curves. And this is another 3M product that's made in line with all of their products like DA paper. So this is a sponge, and I'll see if I'll link some of the stuff that I use in this video in the description below so you guys can check this out. All right, so 3000 DA with the sponge. Ready to sand. So like I said, I'm gonna wet the surface and then I'm gonna go over with the DA. It's just like that. Now there's a dial on the back of this polisher and it gives you the amount of numbers. So it's the lowest number on this polisher is 600 and it goes all the way up to 3500. I keep my speed at 2200 when I'm polishing so that way I can move quickly. I keep my compound on the ketchup bottle to wipe a little bit at a time, and I do a section at a time. So what you want to do is you want to squeeze a little bit on here like I did here and start polishing a section at a time. Don't try to do a whole big section, do it a section at a time. Small sections are the best way to polish. Now remember what I was telling you guys about going all the way up to 3000, and this is exactly the reason I do it. I hit this with the compound just lightly and the sand scratches are basically already polished out. It's nice and smooth and the sand scratches are gone. Now I go over it at least 2 or 3 times, but at this point I could just keep going and this makes my process go quicker and it still looks nice and professional and very shiny. Okay guys, I hope you can hear me. There's a lot of noise in the background, people are working. I'm trying to do this video at the same time, so I'm sorry if it's a little loud. But my next step is going to be to polish. And what I'm going to use to polish is this dark gray foam pad. It's a 3M pad. And gray polish, 3M polish. And this is what really makes the whole job look very, very nice and professional and extremely shiny. And this also removes any swirl marks that were left from polishing with the wool pad and the compound. This is a must. Now when glazing, you can lower the RPMs on your polisher to like 1800 and maybe even a little bit lower if you feel more comfortable like that. But I usually keep it at 1800 while I'm polishing, and I go over everything and then there's one more step. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm power washing it to remove all the compound or all the edges. And I'm gonna remove it with the power washer real quick and clean the rest of the car. And one of the things I do is wherever I polished and glazed, I don't hit it with soap. I leave that spot alone because when I finish washing the rest of the car, the area that I polished and glazed, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of wax to make it look extra, extra shiny. Okay, my last and final step is some hand glaze with an applicator and some hand glaze. That is my final step. And now the reason when I washed the car, I didn't wash the hood where I polished it, because if you remove that material, you're basically removing the material that took away any swirl marks that could have been made by the polishing machine. So the best way to do it is don't wash off the area you're polishing. Just wipe it down and then give it a hand glaze with an applicator pad and some hand glaze, and you're done. Then make sure you use a brand new microfiber rag and wipe your glaze off nice and smooth. Nice clean rag. Well guys, that is the final product. I finished glazing everything, wiped it down with my microfiber towel, and take a look at how this looks. It looks like a mirror. Look. Well guys, that's it for me. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Bye.